My skin was clear, and then I made one mistake that changed everything. Because for almost 2 years, my skin was completely clear, and I genuinely thought I'd outgrown my acne. So I stopped my treatment completely, and within a few months, everything changed. At the time, my skin had actually been clear for about 1 to 2 years, which was amazing for me. I still get the occasional breakout every now and then, but overall, it looked really good and it felt really stable. I was 20 at the time, and I think I had this idea that my acne was just teenage acne, and since I was 20, it no longer applied to me. So I slowly started to feel like I didn't need to use my acne treatment anymore. I've been using Duac for quite a while at that point, and it did contain an antibiotic that you had to put on your skin. And I remember thinking that I wasn't meant to be using it for longer than 2 years, so I wanted to stop using it. And honestly, I didn't know enough about skincare back then to understand what stopping would actually mean for my skin. At the time, I just genuinely thought that I'd outgrown my acne. And so I just quit completely. And for the first month, nothing really happened. My skin still looked fine, which honestly made me feel really good about my decision. I felt like I made the right choice. I was still using a very simple routine, so I think I was using a salicylic acid cleanser, and that was it. It was nothing like what I was doing before with the spot treatment. And because everything looked okay on my skin, I didn't really think about it again for a while. That first month really reinforced my decision, and I felt like I didn't need the medication anymore. But then, after a few months, I started noticing a few changes. At first, I tried to ignore it because it wasn't obvious enough to panic about. I remember standing in certain lighting and thinking, wait, why does my skin look like this? Like, what is going on with this texture? Because with the acne treatment, my skin was super smooth. It wasn't like all my acne was coming back. It was a lot more subtle than that. I started getting a few bumps on my forehead and a few minor spots here and there, but nothing major. And even though it wasn't too bad, it just didn't feel like my super smooth skin anymore. I remember thinking, something's changing, but I'm not really sure what. And if you've struggled with acne for a long time, you probably know exactly what I mean. I think part of me already knew what was happening, but I just didn't want to admit it. And so I kind of ignored it at first, because a big part of me just didn't want to accept that my acne was coming back. It wasn't alarming yet, just uncomfortable in a way that I couldn't explain. If you're going through something similar, drop it in the comments below. I genuinely read every single one. So I decided to go back to my GP, and I was prescribed Epiduo, which is adapalene, which is a retinoid, and benzoyl peroxide combined into one medication that you can put on your skin. I was feeling pretty good, but I had heard a lot about purging with this product, so I expected my skin to get slightly worse before it got better. But I thought the purging phase would be mild, and I thought it would improve within a couple of months. But that's not what happened. At first, it started off small. So after every breakout, I just kept thinking, this is part of the process. It's fine. This is just completely normal. And I remember constantly checking my skin in the mirror, trying to figure out if this was actually a purge or if it was something else. And time went by, but instead of my skin improving, it got much, much worse. And that's when I kept checking my skin in the mirror way more than I should have. And then the breakout started getting more painful, deeper, and to my surprise, it turned cystic. And I just couldn't believe that I had cystic acne. And I had never had cystic acne before. I remember how itchy and irritated my skin was. Painful too. Even when I went to sleep, even turning around on my pillow with my face triggered the pain. And in the morning, I would wake up and immediately check my skin before anything else. I remember thinking, this doesn't look like a purge anymore. I was checking my skin every day, taking picture after picture, zooming in, comparing those pictures to my old pictures where I had completely clear skin. And it just made me feel so sad and frustrated. I was like, what is going on here? And I was trying to figure out, is my acne actually getting worse, or am I just imagining it? And that whole process just made me feel worse because it wasn't that long ago that my skin was really, really clear. And I was really confused because I couldn't understand why this was happening after I'd started acne treatment. The treatment was meant to help my acne, not result in me having cystic acne. I genuinely thought the medication was causing it, and I kept waiting for it to improve, but it just didn't. kept getting worse. However, the second it turned cystic, that is when I decided to reach out again for more help. When I went back to my GP, they said that it was more likely that my acne was just returning and that the product didn't have anything to do with it, rather than just a reaction to the treatment. They thought it was hormonal acne coming back underneath everything. And I remember them saying that it wasn't really about the Epiduo causing it, it was just that my acne had reactivated in the background. I didn't realize at the time, but what I actually have is hormonal acne. And hormonal acne doesn't just disappear. So at that time, they actually prescribed me oral antibiotics for 3 months. I can't remember the exact one, and they told me to use Epiduo alongside it. And so I followed that plan exactly. And thankfully, over the next few months, my skin gradually started to calm down until eventually I wasn't breaking out anymore. Yes, I still had a ton of hyperpigmentation at that point, but my active acne was gone. And that was the first time that I actually understood that my acne wasn't cured before. It was managed, it was under control, and it was something that needed ongoing control. And thankfully that treatment is what cleared my skin long term again. So after that, my skin stayed clear for years. And that was the moment that everything really clicked for me. It was the moment I realized that my acne hadn't been fully fixed, it was just something that was now controlled. And after that experience, I completely changed how I treat my skin. Now I will never stop my acne treatments just because my skin looks clear, because I never want to go through that uncertainty again. I treat my skin as something that requires long-term management, as opposed to something that just needs a one-off fix and then that's it. So for me, consistency matters the most. So I don't really test stopping my acne treatments anymore because I know just how quickly things can change. And this is just what personally works for me based on my own experience. Things like staying consistent with my topicals, for example, tretinoin and azelaic acid, wearing sunscreen and not overcomplicating my routine, and just being more long-term with my approach. So even now, even though my skin is in a better place, I still kind of act like my acne could come back. Not because I'm constantly anxious about it, but because I've actually seen what could happen when I stopped managing it properly. And that experience just changed the way I think about acne completely. I don't really see it as something I've permanently solved. I see it as something I manage long term. If you liked this video, please let me know in the comments down below. Subscribe, like the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!